Deadline says you've got that prequel with James Mangold, who's Oscar nominated for the Bob Dylan movie A Complete Unknown, or movie A Complete Unknown. Kennedy says, "Yep, he's working on the script right now. Simon's working on scripts right now. Sean, we've had been working with him already for about a year and a half. These guys are available now. Jim, he got delayed a bit because of the Dylan movie and the award season. You have to accommodate top talent to a certain extent, and quality is so important with what we're trying to do." Oh, really?
Okay.
It is.
Sure,
Okay.
Oh.
Really, it is. I like to wait for people that I think are
Never know
passionate
that.
and really good to step into Star Wars. Whoa. Deadline. Any others that I've forgotten? Well, I keep waiting for, how do you pronounce this? Taika?
Taika.
I keep waiting for Taika, and he's working with another writer now. He's so busy. I love him. I think if we ever got to do a script from Taika, it's going to be fantastic. I already saw a first act that I loved, but tying him down is tricky.
I don't think Taika's that in demand these days. He's had some pretty high-profile flops.
Deadline says, I still remember seeing, and it seems like he'd want. It seems like Star Wars was something that he would be interested in, like that he would come to do.
He was involved in. You remember when Mandalorian season 1 came out? They had that on Disney Plus. They had a Star Wars gallery. It was a documentary. It had Jon Favreau in it. He was talking like Carl Weathers in it and Bryce Dallas Howard. Taika Waititi was in that documentary. He was hanging around at the table talking to Favreau and Filoni and those guys. So he was involved, but that's 5 years ago now. A lot's happened.
Yeah,
Deadline said,
did you like direct one of the episodes? I think early on.
He did, yes. One of the Mando episodes.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Deadline says, I still remember seeing his Thor Ragnarok, entering with low expectations, watching his exuberant vision and thinking, this is what you want to go to a movie theater on Saturday night. This is what you want this is what you want when you go to a movie theater on Saturday night.
Yeah, but notice how he's referencing the 2017 Thor Ragnarok and not the 2023 or 22 Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah, Love and Thunder.
Kennedy says it's so true, and that's exactly the tone we're always looking for with filmmakers who can pull that off. It's not like they're a dime a dozen. You really got to find the diamond in the rough, and he's one of them. So this is the end. This is what we got to. So this is the context of that conversation. Deadline says, so even when you hand the reins to a Lucasfilm protege, it sure sounds like you're going to be in that world for 8 or 10 years. Fair? Kennedy says, I don't know if I'm going to say that, but yeah, it's possible.
She's still hedged. She's still back out of it.
And nobody wants, like, if you are now the head of Lucasfilm,
8 years,
her looking on you over your shoulder for 8 to 10 years.
Somebody is milking that paycheck.
Yeah, but she wouldn't even say yes. She should have said yes there. If she's going to die making movies, she should have been like, yeah, of course.
Yes, I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be right there. Absolutely.
Or she should have said, well, typically it's this amount, but if it need be, I can do 10 years. But
yeah, that's a great.
Sounds like she's making it sound like, oh, well, all of our projects take about 10 years.
Really, and he's like, oh, so you're saying? And she's like,
that's not accurate. She's blowing air.
Deadline says, might you also go back to working with your husband, Frank Marshall, who's doing a documentary on Barbara Streisand, another on Fleetwood Mac? Kennedy says, he's truly something. I cannot keep pace most of the time with what he's doing. And then he's just open to play on Broadway and he's finishing Jurassic. It makes me feel like I'm standing still.
You are.
You have been. You have been. Yes. Deadline says,
yo, he's busy.
Sounds like Frank's got some things going on.
Yeah, I know.
Like follow him.
Deadline says, do you look forward to a point where the two of you can focus on collaborating on these projects that you've always cooked up together, whether it was at Amblin or elsewhere? Kennedy says, oh, sure. If something came along, the two of us, we loved coming back together and being able to work with Mangold on the indie movie. That's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That was a real treat. Ugh.
Yeah, for you, maybe.
And to be working with Steven Spielberg, and as they say, getting the band back together, that was really fun. We had a blast. Any regrets? Okay, so this goes on. Kennedy says, no, I mean, far from regrets. I love the challenge of stepping into this space and literally space and being with Star Wars over these years, taking on the challenges of expanding on Star Wars. I've loved working with Disney, and the company has been fantastic in support of the IP. They've expanded things in ways I don't think George could have ever imagined. Well, that's probably true.
Wow, that much is true.
And it's been so much a learning experience. I've never been an executive before. I'm a filmmaker through and through. I even approached the executive role as a filmmaker. I love working for filmmakers. That is my life's blood. It's what I enjoy more than anything. And being able to do that inside of Star Wars has been really fun because we have people who step inside Star Wars who are diehard fans, and we have people who step into Star Wars who never really knew the IP that well. And when you look at someone like Tony Gilroy, he's done transformative, exceptional work. I've been working with Tony for more than a decade. I don't think Tony would have ever imagined that we would have done that. The creative experience on Andor has been fantastic. The second season is coming out next month. That's where the satisfaction comes from, and I just hope that continues. Okay, this was longer than I thought.
Guys, I'm gonna have to duck out because it's 3:15 a.m.
Yeah, I know it's late for you, right?
I don't want to turn into a pumpkin in front of Retro.
Okay,
so.
Thank you very much for coming on, Lance.
Well,
No,
Lance,
listen,
before
it's-
you go, I wanted to show you something. I got
Oh, yeah.
something in the mail today.
Oh,
Here we
What is
go.
this? Let me solo you. Let me take this down. Let me take that down.
hey,
So what is it?
Retro, your
Silver Screen
your
Journeys.
name's in the back of that book.
Ooh, I'm gonna look for it.
You go to the acknowledgements section at the back. I'm pretty sure you get a special mention.
So cool.
Very cool, man.
Awesome.
If you don't, there'll be one in the next edition.
You can do that. We did actually get to the end, basically to the end of this. I was thinking it went a bit
Oh, yeah,
longer
yeah.
than I was thinking, but we did basically get to the end of it.
Yes.
Because Deadline says, "Will you twist Tony into doing one of these Star Wars movies after he was the uncredited backstop in Rogue One?" Kennedy says, "I don't know if I can. I don't know if he ever believed he'd be decade inside Star Wars. He's writing some things on his own, and I think he'd like to get back into the director's chair. We'll see what he does, but he's just a talent, just fantastic." Deadline says he also provided the creative spine for the Bourne Identity. Kennedy says that's how we all met. And then that's when two final questions come in.
that's right.
Two final questions. Will you step outside as Lucasfilm boss this year? Kennedy, we really don't know at this stage. There's so much going on, Mike. I don't know. Deadline says when it happens, who'll make the decision? Kennedy says it's my decision. This is 100% my decision.
That's what she wants.
There we go.
Yeah.
That went
Yeah.
all the way through that in all
Yeah.
the context. So there we go.
You know, here, scroll up for one. Well, it said, I didn't understand what she was saying about Tony Gilroy. She said, hold on, go down.
Oh, go down.
Yeah, she said, I don't know if I can. He's like, would you try to get, and it's funny because that's kind of a backhanded question. Would you ever twist Tony's arm into doing a Star Wars movie after he basically got screwed over on Rogue One? And she goes, I don't know if I can. I don't think he'd ever believe me. I don't think he'd ever believed he'd be decade inside Star Wars.
I don't know exactly what that means. Like,
Yeah, I don't know what that means
He
either.
didn't-
But
he didn't think when he signed up for working with them, he didn't know he was going to be working for them for a decade now. So it's been a decade.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that was funny how he worded that. Do you think since you screwed him over, maybe he gets a movie? And then she's like, I don't think so.
Well, I just wanted to say this one thing about Kathleen Kennedy, and what it seems like she is going to be making films after this, or producing on films, which I think is a great idea because other than some of the stuff that is going on with Disney and Star Wars, I think she has a fantastic career. She knows, clearly knows what she's doing, as far as producing. I think if she could concentrate on like smaller productions, possibly like helping younger filmmakers come up and make those truly unique stories that she's thinking of, those socially changing stories. I think that would be really great. If it's not under the banner of something else that people were expecting, one kind of product, and now they're getting she's delivering another, that doesn't quite work. But if she is just creating something out there where people can choose that niche, then I think there could be still a nice closure for her in the field of filmmaking and for her career in general.
Retro, I totally agree. I feel like she came in. It'd be like if you came into Coca-Cola, and you're like, man, but what about all the people that like lemonade? Why aren't we making more lemonade? So you turn Coca-Cola into a lemonade stand.
You got your least favorable product, and now you want that product to be the top, the main thing. And it's
Yeah, I mean, go open up a lemonade stand. If you care about lemonade and you want more people to drink lemonade, go open up a lemonade stand. Let Coca-Cola sell Coca-Cola because that's what they're good at. And you wanted to turn Coca-Cola into that lemonade stand, and you failed. That didn't work. So I agree with you. She did have an illustrious career prior to all of this. We were excited when she started to take over Disney or Lucasfilm. She did create the greatest, highest-grossing domestic film of all time. In Force Awakens, and at the end of the day, this was a disaster. It was a mistake. There were some high points. We talked about some of those, and I wanted to go over the good and the bad in that postmortem. And we will at some point.
We still have to do that. I'm sorry that we got we got all this.
I actually love that we kind of shot from the hip here tonight. That was fun.
I do like when you're on and something breaking happens, and that's fine. And I feel like I've got to clip some of the material from this discussion and the previous one, and probably retitle this discussion so people know that we're talking breaking news deadline Kathleen Kennedy interview. We went over it.
Yeah, you should retitle it for sure.
So